with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today I want to eat your pancreas. That is the name of the movie. Yeah. What a title. This is an anime film. It is also a donation reward for Venom. Um, I have no clue what this is about at all. I have no clue what this is about. But I've heard people talk about it quite favorably, actually. Um, I don't know the concept, the tone, the anything. I mean, obviously it makes me think of Silence of the Lambs. But is this horror? I I think it's I don't think it is. I'm aware that it's not horror. But that's like about all I know. It's like some kind of misleading title. But the title, like, I want to eat your pancreas, is just such a fucking what the fuck title. Like, what? I mean, it gets people's attention. You have to admit that. It gets people to pay attention and be interested. But why do you need to do that? Why do you need that insane of a title to get people interested? Is the movie itself, is the rest of the contents not that interesting? Is it like a case where you tried to like sell this movie, try to get this movie figured out and everything, but no one was interested in it until you put that title in there? Because if so, that worries me about the movie. That makes me think it's not going to be that good, and the title is like the only reason people would watch this. But again, I've heard people talk about this movie favorably, as if it is good. So I don't fucking know. What am I supposed to think going into this? Again, without I don't know even the most basic of synopsises or synopses. I don't know the most basic plot of this. I don't know what it's about in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. But like I said, it's pretty well received, so hopefully it ends up being good. Mind you, there's a lot of things that are well received that I don't like, and vice versa. So that's not always necessarily like the best thing to go by. But yeah, I'm still nonetheless very curious to see exactly what this is. Um, the title just has me insanely curious, if nothing else. I have a couple ideas, and the only one that really makes any sense to me is it has something to do with organ donor stuff. But then again, eating your pancreas like doesn't really fit with that. That's just more blatantly cannibalistic. But I mean, I can't think of anything else it could be about other than cannibalism. So I guess we'll see. Um, we are watching this in the original sub, by the way. There is a dub out for this, but we're doing the sub, just in case anyone was curious. So, that all being said, let's just get into this and hope for something, I guess. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I'm satisfied. I am satisfied with this. And by that, I mean, This movie has some issues. It's not perfect. Um, it's not great, but it's good. It's satisfying. It's emotional. It's, heartbreaking and shocking, even. And it's nice. But it has its issues. And I'm going to start off with the issues, get those out of the way first. The pacing is really slow. Like, really slow. There were many points where I was thinking the movie should be over soon, just because of how long it felt like it was going on. This movie's about an hour 40 minutes. It felt like double that. I'm not even kidding you, as that's how slow it felt. And I understand that's kind of the point. It's not supposed to be exciting or bombastic. It's all about enjoying and valuing life and people and the little moments that you have together. I understand that's the point, but from a viewing experience, for me at least, it did make it hard to, like, focus on, I guess you could say. Um, it's just when a movie is, or a show or anything really is just like that slowly paced, I have a hard time keeping interest. And during a lot of this movie, I was like struggling to focus. Like, I'm just like watching, I'm just like, is something gonna happen? There's also certain things that just don't feel like they had a proper, satisfying conclusion. For example, the gum guy, like, it's implied at the end that Kyoko is into him now, and she was like, we're gonna start dating after exams. I think she was talking about him, not Haruki. Um, because again, the gum is kind of a clue to that. Where did that come from? Did they ever even have an interaction in the film? No, no, no. They had one interaction in the entire film. And there was not even a slight hint that there was anything romantic there. And I know it, like the epilogue took place a year later, things can change and everything, of course. But it's like that's also the only payoff we get for Gum Guy in the first place. It's like this guy is built up throughout the film. He's shown over and over again trying to befriend Haruki. And the payoff is that Kyoko's gonna be dating him. But we don't even see him at the end, by the way. It's just told to us. That is a very unsatisfying payoff. Because it felt like it was working towards him and Haruki becoming friends. But we have no evidence that that ever became the case. There is absolutely zero evidence that those two ever became friends. So it's like, what was the point of his character? He was a waste of space, honestly. He felt like he didn't blah, 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 I can't speak. It felt like he didn't need to be there. His character could have been written out, it wouldn't have changed anything. And sometimes you can get away with that in movies where it's just a random side character who has like a role to play and everything. But it's like, it didn't feel like even for a side character he had any meaning. It just felt like a completely useless part of the movie that took away from anything else that could have been thrown in. Honestly, that time could have been dedicated more to Kyoko. I would have created. I can't speak. I would have appreciated that a lot more because Kyoko also needed a little more screen time. Just a little bit more. It felt like she just wasn't. She wasn't big enough of a character to have that emotional, heavy final scene with her learning about the diary and about Sakura's illness and everything. It didn't feel like that was earned. I feel like she needed to have more of a role in the story outside of just appearing once in a while and being upset that Sakura was hanging out with Haruki. She needed to have more of an actual role for that final scene to really feel like it was earned. So I just feel like she needed a little bit more, just a little. And if you had cut out Gum Guy completely, not only would it not have changed the story in any way, but it could have improved it by giving that time to her instead. It would have also made that final scene where she breaks down crying, actually a lot more emotional. As it is, it's just it's emotional for sure. Like, you understand the emotions that she's going through there, but at the same time, it would have hit harder, honestly. Like, I cried more at Haruki's breakdown because it meant more, because Haruki was a main character and we got to understand how his emotions had changed and how he had grown as a character. But her breakdown, eh, didn't really make me cry, didn't really make me that emotional, because we didn't really get to see enough of their friendship. We didn't get to see enough of Kyoko in general. So I just feel like there was a little bit of a wasted opportunity there. But that's about it for the negatives, really. It's just stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, that's notable stuff. It's not nitpicks by any means. But everything else I think the movie did right. And specifically with the relationship between Haruki and Sakura, I actually like that they didn't have it be romantic inherently, or even have it necessarily be a friendship just outright. By having it be some sort of like almost destined other kind of relationship where it's just like they just helped each other value life more, it allows it to feel more satisfying than if this was just a, boyfriend girlfriend type thing, if they had just fallen in love. Though again, it was obvious they were developing feelings for each other, and Sakura even admitted that in her diary. She even said, it's like, oh, there were definitely times where I thought I loved you. It's like my heart skipped a beat and all. It's like, yeah, that was definitely in there for a reason. But it never actually developed into that. Now, could it have if she had survived? Possibly. It very possibly could have. But it didn't. And I like how it wasn't just like a typical friendship either. It allowed it to feel unique and interesting, and it allowed the focus on the theme of life and the valuing of others around you and your connections to them. It allowed it to shine a lot more. Um, Really interestingly, I found this part while reading the reviews and thoughts about this. Um, and I want to read this real quick to you. Rafael Montemayor, I might have mispronounced that or just missaid it. I apologize. Um, Graded, I want to eat your pancreas A minus for Collider. Feeling that the film may look like a traditional romantic drama about a dying character, but it is a heartfelt celebration of life and friendships with a tight script and round characters. I agree with that mostly, except again, it's not just about friendships, it's about relationships with people no matter how they end up. Um, but Raphael also noted that it had similarities with, and this is actually what I want to point out here, The Fault in Our Stars. Absolutely. Outside of just the lack of romance in this, it absolutely reminds me of A Fault in Our Stars. And A Silent Voice. Less so there, but definitely Fault in Our Stars. Um, I also want to say that I kind of like that they never revealed who killed her. It's all they said was that the suspect was caught, they were in custody, they admitted to the stabbing, were fully open about it. Like, you could maybe imply that it could have been the ex, but it's never stated. And there's not really enough information to really believe that. Um, because the thing is, we saw the ex. He was scolded by Sakura and he left after being a piece of shit. Also, interestingly enough, he's the one who Kyoko was saying earlier in the film. It's like that's the kind of guy you should be with. Ugh, that did not end up aging well. But yeah, he just left, and then we never saw him or heard about him again. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, she's stabbed and fatally killed. Fatally. Wow, she's fatally killed. Yes, that is how that works. No, she's fatally stabbed and killed by this mysterious person we never learn the identity of. And you could definitely infer that it could be him. Absolutely. But there's not enough evidence to actually say for sure. And I like that they did that because it doesn't matter. Whether it was him or not, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that she was killed. She died even before she was supposed to with her illness. And that despite that, her life affected others. That she impacted others so much that two people who were at such strong odds with each other became friends. She lived a life worth living. A life that that not only was she proud of, but again, that helped other people. I mean, what more can you ask for? So it doesn't matter how she died. It doesn't matter that like who killed her. That's not important here. It matters how she lived. And what impacts she made as she did. And the impacts that others had on her as well. And I think that's genuinely beautiful. It's a beautiful message, it's beautiful themes, and I really like what they did with that. And their relationship was nice to see. And I also really love how it showcased her fear of dying. How she was putting on this front, not lying, but like, putting on a front, as she said. She was just pretending to be happier, pretending to be, upbeat and cheerful, because she didn't want to worry those around her. She cared about them and didn't want to bring them down, which is also why she never told anyone else. It's with what Kyoko said at the end of the film. It's like, if I would have known, I would have been there for her. I would have quit my club and everything. It's like, that's the point. That's exactly why she didn't tell you. She wanted you to keep living your life as if nothing was wrong. To enjoy your life, to enjoy your club and your activities and your hobbies. Because that would mean more to her than doting on her ever could. Not that caring about her is something she dislikes, not by any means, but she didn't want Kyoko to, sidetrack her entire life for that. And it's kind of like what she said about Haruki and everything in the diary as well. She likes that he was basically unabashedly himself. That he didn't try to be anyone else with her. That he didn't try to just dote on her to dote on her. That he cared about her naturally. But that he still lived his life because of her. And in the end, that inspired her and allowed her to keep wanting to live. Her fear that she was hiding, that she confided in him at points, was even shown by the fact that she had all those pills and stuff in her bag. She was absolutely suicidal. She was so afraid of... It sounds weird to say, but she was so afraid of dying that she was suicidal. Unless you have been there, you will not understand that statement. Unless you have been there, you will not understand that statement. As someone who has been there, that hits. I'll try my best to explain it here, but I am afraid of death, like horrifically afraid of it. I've talked about before in many videos that I do not do well with existentialism because I have literal nightmares about death and about the concept of what happens to your consciousness after death, specifically your consciousness. Because the idea of your consciousness not existing anymore is like one of the scariest things to me. Because I have no idea what that would mean or what that would be like. I can't comprehend it. I am fucking terrified of death. And it's to a degree that when I get at the heights of depression, anxiety, pain, just misery, it's all I think about. All I think about is that I would rather be dead than suffer this. And those thoughts scare me so much because of how afraid I am of death. And so my mind goes to, if I would rather be dead, but if I'm so afraid of dying, the best way to do it would be to do it on my terms. To be in control of it. I don't want to die randomly. If I'm in control of it, at least I have that. And that is what drove me to attempt suicide multiple times in 2013. Those kinds of thoughts. That is what really, really affected my life in some of the heaviest ways. My fear of death is what caused me to be suicidal. Again, it sounds insane to say that because it's contradictory. It makes no sense. And again, I hope I explained it well enough to where you can at least kind of get where I'm coming from. But again, unless you've been there, you won't understand. You can't understand. Not like truly, at least. It's one of those things that you really have to experience. One of those types of unfathomable emotions that's beyond sorrow, beyond depression, beyond fear. That's just so, in and of itself, so intense, so powerful that it just affects you in a way that nothing else could. So that part of this film really did hit. That was probably one of the best portrayed parts of this film, honestly. And it didn't even need to say all of that I just said. It didn't need to describe that because I understood it because I've been there. And I think a lot of people watching this will at least get the gist of it. Even if they maybe don't quite understand how intense that is, they'll understand the idea of it at least. But yeah, it did really well at that. That was probably the best part of this movie for me. But overall, like I said, this movie had some issues. It was not by any means perfect. if I had to give it a score off the top of my head based just on this viewing, I don't know, 7 out of 10, something like that. Which is again still good, just not great. It's like that's reasonable. Or honestly, I've been, logging stuff on Letterboxd lately. Link in the description below if you want to check out my Letterboxd and all my rankings on there. I have over 1,100 ranked movies currently, and there's definitely more I have not remembered. That once I remember, I will put on there. But um, that gives you a 5-star ranking on that website. So if I were to rank it out of that, like comparative to a 7 out of 10, out of 5, I would say maybe a 3. 3 out of 5. Yeah, that sounds about right. A 3 out of 5. Because 2.5 would be like mid. It's definitely above that, but a 3.5 I think is a little high. I'd say a 3. Because the issues do bring it down a bit for me, but it definitely deserves to be up there. Of course, I'm going to think about it more. I might check to see if there's some reviews and stuff on YouTube, hear other people's thoughts, before I even think about ranking it on there. I'm probably going to put it up on Letterboxd on Sunday after this movie's out. Because I also don't want anyone to go on Letterboxd and kind of get a spoiler for what I think about the movie. That's kind of what I'm doing with movie reactions now. It's like I react to the movies during the week, I put them up on the weekend, and after the second one goes up on Sunday, that's when I put the rankings up on Letterboxd. It also, like I said, allows me to think about the movies a little more and have a less, like, have a more unbiased opinion. Because trying to rank it right after I've seen the movie, it's like recency bias, It's like that might just be the moment talking rather than, actually giving time to think about it. Because movies have definitely changed over time for me in terms of what I think about them and all. So, yeah. But either way, either way, tell me your thoughts on I Want to Eat Your Pancreas down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.